Welcome back. And today, this is going to be the third video in the tutorial series of React. Uh, and today, we are gonna learn about props. So, what are props and why do we use them? So, last time we left off on this screen, okay? And we made a component of our own, which was called as first component. So before we understand what props are and why they are used, we must first understand a few terminologies. So first is parent component and child component. So we used our first component and we put it inside the app component. So the app component becomes the parent component and the first component becomes the child component, the component named first component. So now that's clear that if a component is inside another component, the component which is inside is called as the child, and the component which the component is inside of is called as parent. So I hope that's clear. So moving on. So now we need to establish some way for the parent and the child to communicate, because there are a lot of instances where the parent gives the child some data to work with, and that's what we're going to establish today, a sort of connection between those. So the app component can pass on some data it wants to the first component. So let's open up a first component first and see what we have written here. So it says this is a first component and I'm happy to see it. Now I want this mood, or the term happy, to be a variable. Like there could be like, in some cases I'm happy to see it, in some cases I'm sad to see it, in some cases I'm angry to see it. So that is where props come in, where we can use the same component but for different uses, and like we can decide what this component what data is being displayed for this component. So let's try it out. So to give props, basically, is we need to do is something uh, called as passing on the props. So for that we're gonna do, now as I'm passing on the mood, I'm gonna declare a variable named as mood, mood, and I'm gonna say its value is happy. So now the first component has prop called as mood. So how do we deal with it here in the child component? So in the child component, in the parameters of the function, we just say props. And what this does, this basically makes an object of props, and the object has one attribute called as mood, and we can access it. So now to show our mood here instead of happy, I can erase this. I'll put in curly brackets or curly braces, and I'll just write here props dot mood. So now what this will do is this will say that this is our first component. I am happy to see it. I'll just zoom in for so you guys can see better. Yeah. So now if I can check my page, it says this is our first component. I'm happy to see it. So now let's duplicate this component 3 times, and I'll give sad and angry. And if I check now, it says this is the first component, I'm sad to see it. This is our first component, I'm angry to see it. So this is the basic working of props. It's basically you pass some data from a parent to a child, and this can be dynamic as well. So I just passed here a constant or a literal value, which is a string. You can pass any variable you want, which you can work above and then compute, write some code and then pass it. So it can be like, mood is equal to some random, oh, okay, some random variable I declared. It can be that, but now it is not defined, so it's giving me an error. So yeah, this is the very basic functioning of props. There is also another use of props. For example, I want it that if there is a negative mood, I want a button here which should say make my mood better. So, but I will never know that if when's the need to pass it. There can be instances where you won't know that function what your child component is expecting a prop as. So what we do for that is we pass it as children. I'll show you how we do that. So instead of the self closing tag, I'm going to open this component up, and I'm going to pass in a button which says make me happy with a smiley face. Now to render this, if you check our website, it still doesn't show up the button. So to render this specific thing, I'll just go in our first component and I'll press enter. I'll say props.children if I'm not wrong. And what this should do is, yeah, it should render out the button make me happy. So that's how it's gonna work. It's gonna say that make me happy. And now if I want that, uh, if it's saying that if I'm angry, then it should give me a warning text that your anger is going up. So for that, I'll just open up the tags again, and I'll pass in an h3 which says please calm down, and I'll give it a style which I'll explain further along, but all you have to know is in JSX. Uh, some people ask me what does JSX mean. It basically means JavaScript XML. But yeah, so I'll go style with double curly braces, and I'll put in whatever CSS I wanna write in there, inline CSS. So I'll just go color red. Now if I check, it says please come down. So that is super cool. Now we understand how functions work, and we can do anything with that. There is also one more case where people are confused on how you can use functions as props. So you can do that. So if I declare a function here which should say log message, and what it's gonna basically do is log a message, console.log, this is our message, and I'll pass it in as a prop. So I'll just give it as a prop which will say log message. We can say anything, like we can say log function, and we can just give our log message here. And then in our first component, I'll quickly make a button. Now I'll just remove these two duplicate components because I don't want it. I'm gonna remove the logo as well. I'll keep the hello world and I'll remove the links just to clean things up a little. So now in my button, what I want to do is I want to write an on click event which is gonna be triggered and which is gonna call this function log message. So I'll just say props.log message. Oh, it should be log function. And if we check, oh, we did not give any text. Hello, sorry. So if we check our console, it says this is our message. Now some of you may be confused why it logged 2 times. I just clicked 1 time. There's a reason for it, and actually I think we don't need the parentheses. Yeah, so actually there's a reason for it. I'll just refresh the page so the console is clear. Yeah, now it's working fine. This and this is different, remember that. I'll come to it when we understand, once we start understanding more of, I guess, set state and everything. I'll make sure to explain it then. But for now, you can see that if I press hello, it's calling the function in the parent component. So that's cool. So now we have established two-way communication. So the parent can send some data or some function, or the child can influence some data in the parent component, or vice versa. So that is super cool, and this is all I have for this video. So thank you for watching. Make sure to comment if you have any doubts, if you have any problems. I'll be there making sure you solve them and you understand the concept. You can even join our Discord server and ask stuff there. Everyone's super helpful there. So yeah, thank you for watching. Make sure to subscribe, comment down below. I'll see you next time. Bye bye.